So after my talk with Anna Jones, my CBT weekly talk, I realized, amongst a few other things, that it's good to take little daily steps of positive action just to help you in any number of ways. And I decided to get out the house, to clear my head, just go for a little walk would be a helpful pattern and a new routine to instill. I think I spend a great deal of time cooped up at home and cooped up in my own thoughts, my own head, and surrounded by reminders of tasks, chores, activities that I've been procrastinating on. And so if you're constantly at home and everywhere you go, every room, every corridor, every corner that you look in, there's a pile of things that are left to be addressed. You will continue procrastinating on them, and you'll continue to almost like cast a spell on them subconsciously and make them disappear. You just ignore them, and so they'll pile up, because that's what procrastination gets you. It gets you non-action. It gets you ignoring. It gets you resisting. And ultimately they just pile up until you wind yourself in such a negative state, because you carry that. You carry that association. You feel badly. You feel guilty. And as much as you resist, it will equally persist. So it's not going to go away unless it's addressed. And getting out the house physically, going into an area where they are not in your periphery anymore, they're not on your mind anymore, you're allowing yourself to breathe, to escape, to grant yourself a little bit of time for clarity. Just disconnect for a little bit. Disconnect from everything. Just go for a little walk. If there's a local area near you that has wildlife, that has a large body of water, or a collection of trees, or a nice grassy, outcrop, whatever it is, a hill to climb, some stairs to ascend, whatever it is, I think it's good to get out, walk around, clear your head. The objective is just to get out the house for me and to reset. And I think if I give myself this tiny little, seemingly insignificant act, right? Because I'm not going out for a jog. Okay? That's not the objective. The objective is to silently and subconsciously clear my mind and reset. And it's a gift that I can give myself. It can be as short as I want or as long as I want. It's a privilege. So I can almost treat this as if it's a treat. And I can walk around different areas. Every time I walk out, I don't have to go on the same route, because then it becomes predictable. And then my mind might wander to those uncomfortable thoughts. And then it will kind of sully the objective of disconnecting and clearing my mind for a positive gain. So right now, I've started going on autopilot, walking around my local area. And now I've started walking in a different direction, just slightly off path. I haven't come this way before, and so immediately my mind is present to where I am, unknowing where I'm going. It's starting to rain. I didn't bring an umbrella, but that doesn't matter. My skin's waterproof, My clothes can dry. It's not going to be a downpour. If it is a downpour, I'll run home. I'm not far. Wandering around. It's good. It's refreshing. But yeah, this activity, hopefully, in the long run, is going to be an example of many. Just like deciding in the morning, as soon as I wake up, I will turn around and make my bed. And I have been doing that every day. Right? I don't want to see my bed in a state of disarray. I want to look at my bed and see that it's made. It's just a tiny thing. It doesn't take much. You pick up the duvet by the entire side, and you just flap, and then let it lie straight. That's it. There's nothing more to it. And then after that, I sit down and I do some stretches, or I can do them standing. I would just start by warming up my shoulders, rolling them back, carefully squeezing the muscles of my shoulder blades, not thrusting my arms around, but I'm tensing and contracting those muscles to strengthen them and engaging them so that my shoulders start rolling up, back, around, down, to the front again. And I'm doing so consciously, and that helps activate. I'm doing it now, obviously, as you can tell from my voice. That helps activate those muscles that I don't tend to use. They tend to always just be in a stressed position. Whether my shoulders are crunched up naturally, I'm just always carrying a lot of tension in my shoulders there, or they're required to be stiff to maintain a frame through dancing. Whatever it is, there's a lot of pent-up energy there, needs to be released. So every day, after I make my bed, I try to make an effort to tag on this little activity of stretching my shoulders. And then I'll go on and also apply some stretches to my neck. So I'll start doing some basic head rolls, like we do in dance warm-up. Just some basic head rolls. And then I'll start concentrating on my torso instead of just moving my head around. And so I'll move my torso around on the horizontal plane and then try and keep my head still. And then I'll start to relax my neck. And I'll move my torso around more, making bigger movements. And then my head starts to kind of bobble around in a relaxed state. And then I'll move my torso as if there's a rod through the center of my chest, up through to the top of my head. And imagine if it's like a flexible rod, you know? And so then I'd start rotating my chest around, and as I'm doing that, my head is rotating in the opposite direction. So if I push my chest out forward, my head goes back. If I push my chest out to the left side, my head dips to the right side. So it mimics the angle of my shoulders, because my shoulders are obviously linked to my chest. So it's my whole frame moving. Anyway, I go into these dance exercises. I do that for myself. And I do that, usually, I try to do that after I make my bed. Because if I make my bed every day and I don't think about that, it's such a tiny task. I do that automatically now. Now that I can consider that a habit. It's a positive habit. And if I tack some other thing on that's going to take such a small amount of time, insignificant in itself, in its own action, but altogether it's quite significant, like stretching. So I do that. I tag that on. So going on, I've already started the process of instilling a new positive habit of stretching and make my bed. And so the next thing is, I could tag on just getting out the house. Instead of the first thing I do in a disheveled, groggy state from waking up and doing my stretches. Next thing is, I'll go down to the kitchen and I will put the kettle on and, make myself a hot drink. Instead of doing that, I could get out the house. Because even in that making of the hot drink, my mind is already starting to wake up, and it wakes up to the uncomfortable things. It automatically goes to, what do I need to do today? And it's got this heavy feeling because there's so much I've been procrastinating on, and my mind just goes, okay, so what is that? Immediately, the uncomfortable stuff, the stuff I've been avoiding. And so, I can feel myself having those thoughts, those reminders, and then I try and dull myself to them. I try and go, I'm not a morning person. I need my cup of tea, or let me just give me a minute. Just give me a minute, And I allow myself. I feel myself allowing myself that kind of time to say, it's fine. It's first thing in the morning. Just give yourself a break. Have yourself your hot drink. But all that is just a distraction. It's a habit that I've allowed myself more freedom of movement. It's a luxury, and it's those early moments, especially when I'm less conscious and more susceptible to unconscious negative allowances. I should especially use those moments to go, no, let's reset. Let's tag on another positive habit, something to clear my head, something to get a little bit of a more positive perspective on this day, on this morning in life, my objectives. So if getting out, making voice notes, or not even listening to music, just getting out, walking around aimlessly. If this helps me come back home with a slightly renewed, it just needs to make a tiny bit of difference. Even if it doesn't make a difference on 1 day, 2 days, a week. In the long run, I think it will. Because it's instilling another positive habit. Something that seems mundane and pointless, but in the big picture, no. It's very useful. So, I hope that when I get back home, I'll walk in the door, and the first thing I see that I've been procrastinating on, maybe I feel motivated to address that little thing. Even if that task is so uncomfortable, I've put it off, procrastinated so long, that it really does carry a much heavier weight on me than it ought to. I could still try another little life hack, which is to just allow myself to do 5 minutes of that task. Just 5 minutes. I could even set a timer if I wanted to, but really, it's better to start and allow yourself the parameter that's anyone can achieve it, to stop at will or carry on at will. So after 5 minutes, you could be like, I didn't even realize 5 minutes is gone. I'm into it now. I might as well just finish. If it's achievable to finish, and you feel fine to do that, do it. Obviously. But if not, no hard feelings, because you've still won. You've still started that thing and done 5 minutes of it. And 5 minutes of that thing that you've been putting off for God knows how long is still better than nothing. It's still better than perpetuating that negative cycle. So I can only see pros. I can't see cons of this way of thinking. Now, time and time again, it's not about the thinking, it's about the doing. So instilling a new positive habit in the morning, like just getting out the house, going for a little aimless walk, that hopefully will reset me, calibrate my thoughts, give myself a little bit of a renewed perspective. But it's great in the thinking, it's great in the recalibrating, right? But the most important part is the doing. So when I do, I can give myself a pat on the back, because no matter what happens that day, whatever little tasks I've set myself in order to form new positive habits, I did in the morning, first thing. So it's making my bed, it's doing my daily stretches, it's going out for a walk, getting out the house, right? Those are 3 tasks, positive habits that I've started to form. That's the key thing, started. I started. I decided and I started. And I will continue. That is a powerful thing. And I hope that doing that consistently on a daily basis, finding tiny little things to tag on to something that you've already formed, a habit that you've already formed, makes it so much easier and more achievable. And that gains momentum, which is something I find very difficult to do, because I just constantly am getting in my own way and I'm too smart for my own good. I make up so many plausible excuses and I believe in how I'm feeling. But if something as simple as deciding to get out the house and to change your scenery, reset your mind, if something like that can be so revolutionary in my bigger picture, if it helps me to come back home and the first thing I see that I've been procrastinating on allows me to just start, even if it's 5 minutes of that task, to just start, it's still a big win. So no matter what I do in that day, even if I've started on a task that I've been procrastinating on for 5 minutes and I decide, I can't do it, my mind's shutting off, or I can't think clearly, whatever excuses that you conjure up, whatever happens, at least you walk away and say, I started it. Whereas before, all the other times, I've ignored it. I've put it aside and allowed myself so much luxury, which is, instilling a negative pattern. So it's still a win. It's still a pro and not a con, right? So you've got to document and cultivate those little wins. And also in the meeting, I realized that it's really important for me in particular to document those little wins and not take them for granted. Because the fact of the matter is, yes, I should be doing all these things naturally. I should have been doing them years ago. But the fact of the matter is, I haven't been. And I'm not. So, the fact that I started to do so, and now am, and plan to continue to, that is revolutionary. So, to signify that, in its incremental, tiny little daily activity, if it boils down to instilling a new pattern, like getting out of the house, and that, starts to form into something much grander, much bigger, much more meaningful and impactful in my life, if it all boils down to a simple thing of getting out the house, then why don't I do that? Huh? Well, I am. I'm doing that now. Just because I'm recording a voice note doesn't mean that I will continue to record voice notes. But I'm doing this for me. It's a start of, hopefully, a kind of revelation. It might be for naught, who knows? But I don't see any cons in it. Worst case scenario, I walk around for 5-10 minutes. I clear my head. So what? Nothing happens. It could be like that. But the potential and the possibility and the probability of it not being something that's insignificant, on the contrary, something being entirely significant, it's a personal decision that came from me. And when you ask yourself questions like, what might help you get out of your head, or what might help you, reset, recalibrate, whatever you decide, whatever answer comes to your mind, something that's very achievable, something you can do daily and form a new habit. Do that thing. Because that's personal from you. It's like your psyche, your subconscious has just blurted out the answer. Don't ignore it. Do that thing. Try it. So, yeah. I'm gonna get out of the house. Or at least try to, every day. Even if it's 5 minutes. So now I've earned my cup of hot beverage. If I even want it. Maybe I want a cold one now. Who knows? Alright, that's my morning thought.